Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another fantastic virtual tasting with Becker Vineyards. I am the wine club director here out at Becker Vineyards. My name is Rebecca Nelson. We also tonight have with us our owners, Dr. Richard Becker and Dr. Joseph Becker. We also have our winemaker, Dr. It just rolls off the tongue, John. I've just promoted you to doctor. John Leahy, our winemaker. And tonight we're actually going to be tasting through 3 of the wines that were sent out to one of our club shipments this time. So our standard Becker Vineyards Wine Club this October received the 2017 Chardonnay Reserve, which is this lovely bottle here, all from the Canada Family Vineyard. Also, we have our 2018 new release of the Culinaria. So this is the other wine that got to go, Fabulous Big Red Blend. And then the final wine we'll be tasting tonight is another new vintage. This is our 2018 Petite Syrah Reserve. So that's the order we're going to taste them in tonight. We're going to start with the Chardonnay. We'll move on to the Culinaria, and then we'll go to the Petite Syrah. I'm going to hang out for the duration of the tasting with everyone tonight, and I'll kick it over to John to get you guys started. Cheers.
Cheers, Rebecca, and I just want you to have a nice dark glass of Chardonnay with me.
Wrong one.
So, well, Doc, it looks like, oh, there he is.
My producer wanted to come say hello as well.
Hey, buddy.
With a cookie.
Yeah, with a cookie. Hey, where's my cookie? So, would you guys like to lead us off this evening? A little
I wish I could say other than, it's another week of this struggle, this battle, and we're all lucky to be here. And cases and admissions and disease spreading in about half the states, especially in the Midwest and also in Texas. And so it's just another reminder that we have to pay full attention to this: mask, separation, hand washing, and take care of one another. And one way we can do that is to share at a nice distance some wonderful wine that you made, John. Thank you. Joe, do you have a thought?
No, just from a parent standpoint, it's another week watching my kids' teachers just do an absolutely wonderful job staying masked. It's makes me happy to see my boys with their friends again, although socially distanced and not able to play all the sports they want to play, but still together and happier than they've been. So I'm thankful for what the school is doing.
Yeah, that they are doing a fantastic job, and it really is. It is wonderful, and it helps bring back some normalcy to everybody's day. Speaking of sports, Joe, so how's your eldest son's golf game?
I don't know.
Annoying.
Have we had any recent? Well, actually, he always, as we've said before, he always coaches me when I play dad. And so recently he's told me that if I want to beat dad at golf, I need to let him win a few holes. And then right when quote, Richard thinks he has it in the bag, that's when I should go in for the kill.
He's teaching you how to be a golf shark?
Exactly. Looks like somebody's paying their way through college.
Well, he did chip in out of the sand trap for a birdie, so that's good. For an 8-year-old.
Well, I just want you to know that I usually play 15 to 18 over par per hole. So
Cheers.
So our first wine tonight, before I get caught up in my own petard, the first wine is the Chardonnay. So our 2017, and I was fortunate enough to have this last night. Jody and I enjoyed a glass of this wine last night, and I have to say, I'm enamored with wines when they start aging in bottle. That's what I really like to see. So I want to get everybody's opinion. Let's start, Rebecca, let's start with you. As wine club director, you sent these beautiful wines out, which we just went through the shipment last couple of days. I now know that we are not nearly nice enough to the folks that pack up these wine club shipments every few months. I had to work all day on Monday, and I broke a nail, and I started limping after about 15 minutes. So
I have to say it was pretty interesting going back in the back and seeing all the guys packing up, and I'm seeing John actually breaking down the cardboard boxes after they've pulled the wines out of them, and I'm like, wow, it really is all hands on deck this time.
Is that what that's called? I thought it was just smushy.
Teamwork.
Exactly. So what are your impressions of the Chard?
We did just send this out, and I was really excited to send this out. The 17 Chardonnay is nicely full-bodied for me. I really enjoy the mouthfeel of this Chardonnay. I'm not always a Chardonnay lover. I just think this has a nice balance, and it has just enough acidity, but it just has the oakiness of it is just the right amount for me. It's not overly oaky. It's not, it's just very, very balanced, and I really think it has a lovely nose, and it has changed as it has aged, which is also, like you said, it's kind of one of the fun things that we get to do around here as well, is that we get to see the development of the wines as they sit for a while. And this one is just getting better and better for me. I get a little bit of butteriness. I get a little bit of floral.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of really great balance is the word I keep coming back to. Sorry, I'm repeating myself, but it just really is just so structurally very, very nice from start to finish. I really do enjoy this wine.
I do too. It makes me wonder, do you think our grower Jet Wellness could grow Chardonnay like this?
I'm staying out of that.
Hey Jet, he's on. He just sent on to Facebook, so had to give him a little rib. But oh, hey, raise your glass, Rebecca. We got to say cheers to the Allens of Granbury. They just cheered us.
Cheers.
Cheers. So Joe, what do you think of the wine, sir?
I just looking at the wine, it's got beautiful color, for Chardonnay, and it's the white flower note and just a hint of perfume on the nose are absolutely wonderful in this wine. Just starting with the aroma.
Yeah, Doc.
It tastes like a young Burgundy to me. White flower and a lot of richness, and it'll be fun to watch this wine mature. I'd love to taste it every year for the next 10 years, with luck.
I don't know. If they keep making me do the pack-ups, I might not last 10 years.
I think it's beautiful, John.
Yeah, I agree. I like first of all, I love the depth. Back to Rebecca, you're absolutely right. The depth in here is really nice. I really enjoy the fact that we aged this as long as we did in French oak. It does, one of the things that I was going through this week, what is it about oak that helps a wine? Why do we choose to put certain wines in certain oak barrels? And one of those things is with white wine, when you have structural integrity, and then you have phenolic integrity in a wine. Most of both of those come from wine skins, hence the red wine. And that's why I always say, red wine is a little easier to make than white wine. When you press the juice away from the skins and the seeds, you're sacrificing a little bit of both of those ideas or ideals in the wine. One of the things that oak does is it allows us to build structural integrity back into the wine, the perceived fatness. It allows the carbohydrate development, the fatty acid development, which adds weight to the palate. We get that structural development there. The phenolic development then, the oak in there with very little oxygen interplay allows those terpenes to hold together until right before we rack it out and bottle it, and they start cleaving out, and those aromas come back. That allows then phenolic integrity to stay intact as well. And that's one of the important reasons to use oak in white wine making. French oak, not American oak. Unfortunately, this is one area where I'm going to say American oak is not appropriate for wine. I truly believe French or Eastern European oak is far superior for white wine making. Anyway, that's my take on it. Sorry, I'm blathering. So, somebody jump in. Doc,
John, you mentioned fatty acid, that winery down the road from us. Is that what you're talking about?
I am going to drink my wine. We have a lot of nice neighbors, Doc. We don't need I just, we were talking last night about Chardonnay in Texas. It's a rare creature. There's not a whole lot of Chardonnay grown in the state of Texas. you know, when Mrs. Canada, when Brenda Canada decided to grow Chardonnay, she was told that Chardonnay is the one thing you shouldn't grow in Texas, and she decided to do it anyway. And I'm going to chalk it up to the tenacity of a nice young lady from West Texas. I swear to you, the one thing you never do in the state is tell a Texan they can't do something. Last time that happened, they decided to pump all the oil out of the ground. But anyway, when I first went up to that vineyard, you know, and Brenda's very particular, and this is her baby. You know, the story that Brett loves to tell about Brenda and the weather issues. You know, we had some weather concerns. The numbers were exactly right on the grapes, right at harvest. We had been up there a week before, about a week and a half before. Anyway, the chemistry and the numbers looked perfect on the berries. And Brenda called Brett and said, she did not think the grapes were ready to harvest. And he was telling her, well, you know, here's everything's lined up. Everything looks good. I think they're ready to go. And she asked him, you know, they had agreed upon it, that harvest. Well, she called back and said, in my heart, I don't think they're ready. Have you already dispatched the truck? The truck was on its way. Brett turned it around. And about a week later that she decided it was ready, it put the trucks out there. The trucks were about half an hour away. The other thing that was about 45 minutes away was one of the biggest hailstorms they had coming out of eastern New Mexico, headed straight for her property, about 50 miles away. Everybody was very anxious, and Brenda said, well, we're going to start picking. Well, I think everything will be okay. We'll get what we can off of there. That weather cell hit about 15 miles outside of their property, split in two, went around their property, and then ended up hitting Lubbock with an extraordinarily bad hailstorm, 1.5 inch size hail. Ever since then, I always sit back and say, yes, ma'am. And that's it.
She's living right. She is living right.
I think Brenda Canada is an assumed name. Her real name is Mother Nature. Anyway,
any woman that can bite the tail off a rattlesnake. You know, I saw that. Did you see that the rattlesnake was trying to bite her? I'm sure.
that picture, I'm going to try to see if I have it on my phone. That's incredible. So we get this picture of her shoe. There's a hole that big in it and a fang sticking out of it. And Dwayne's like, well, you know, we ran into, you know, Brenda ran into a snake today. The snake didn't win. I'm like, oh, buddy, did he not know who he was trying to bite?
Well, you know what I think's amazing? What's amazing about that is that the, you know, the canopy for her grapes is unbelievable. You know, the vines are just, you know, arched over. Apparently, that's just a rattlesnake hangout. But that's true, John. You know, the rattlesnake ran into Mrs. Canada that day.
Yeah. Unfortunately for the rattlesnake, I don't think she was in the mood to put up with shenanigans. It was too close to harvest. As a matter of fact, they were out in the field harvesting. I was like, oh man, I could have told the rattlesnake that's the wrong time to mess with her. So this comment is directed directly towards Gary. Gary, yes, that information will be on the final. Comments from our viewers for some reason. So any final thoughts on this Chardonnay before I ask the one overbearing question?
15 years ago, we were invited to do a food and wine tasting at a restaurant, and they wanted to compare native wines, local wines made in Texas with native food. And the first course was a Chardonnay that we'd made. I think that was from Alphonse's vineyard, and it was paired with rattlesnake. And when I heard that, I thought when I heard Mrs. Canada's experience, you know, it's just there's something about Chardonnay and rattlesnakes. And anyway, that's a fun pair if you want to.
Well,
So this is true. I mean,
well, so what you're saying is chicken and Chardonnay go together?
That's right. If it tastes like rattlesnake.
Tastes like rattlesnake. That would be great. I think I'll use that next time. Tastes a lot like rattlesnake. So, Rebecca,
yes.
It's your turn for food. You can't look away. I'm going to call on you. What are you kids talking about in the back of the classroom?
Distracting me. He was passing me notes.
Having you notes, yeah. So what would you pair with this Chardonnay?
My favorite pairing with Chardonnay is Hill Country pecans.
Oh my God, you are a kiss up. Okay.
Right here. Burkett.
Wow.
Burkett was my mother's favorite pecan.
Which ones?
Burkett.
So,
Actually,
Markin?
like I think a brie with say an apricot preserve sounds really nice with this.
Yeah, that would be good.
That's what I'm gonna go with.
I think our
pecans from the Hill Country.
how do you suppose pecan encrusted rattlesnake would go with this Chardonnay, Rebecca?
That
Very
might
good,
be
yeah.
I wonder if Brenda's tried it.
I don't want to know.
The tail of that rattlesnake was missing, is all I know. And
The tail of that rattlesnake.
there are a lot of wonderful stories to come out of that. But
Well,
Yeah.
you know that they have a lot of cats up there to keep the snake population down. I'd be withholding some kitty kibble if I were them. You know, the vineyard up there, you know, I think one of the reasons that Chardonnay does bud out rather early, and it can put it at a higher risk, especially for our late spring or inclement weather that we're bound to get. But that's why we don't always have a very successful year every year. But the last 4 years, you know, 16, 17, 18, and 19 have produced beautiful Chardonnay crops. And we did get some this year, not as much, but we did get a little bit this year as well. So we've had a very long streak of good harvest with that Chardonnay. So I think we should lift a glass to Brenda and Dwayne and say thank you very much. This is beautiful fruit.
absolutely.
Cheers.
Thank you. Boy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Rebecca, I know you want to blame Doc and I for the choices on the wine club,
Blame?
but you also had a hand in it. Wine club director.
Blame, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. You want us to take the responsibility?
No, I'm giving you the accolades.
The accolades. You know, an empty glass with a smile is all the accolade I need.
Well said.
So this is a great selection, by the way, and I was really happy when the final decisions were laid out for the wine club choices, and you know, we get to take a lot of accolades, but honestly, Rebecca and her team and Brett, of course, and Brett and Rebecca, I always feel sorry for you when you have to go against Brett to argue for something, especially like more photocopy paper or something like that. But one thing I can say is that there's done a remarkable job keeping us balanced with the offerings in the wine club. And I love making the smaller wines, certainly, and enjoy making some of the special things. But Culinaria is one of my favorite blends to do every year because it's a no bars held blend. It's just whatever I can think up. So.
And it's one of those wines that our wine club members are clamoring for every year. And this year was a little bit different because they had actually, even before COVID ruined everything, they had changed when the festival was going to be, and they put it in September instead of May. And so normally our wine club members are looking for the Culinaria to be released in their May shipment, and they had to wait a little longer this year.
Right.
And so I know that everybody was really excited to finally see the Culinaria release and come out. And it's always one of those ones that it really doesn't matter if you're a red wine drinker or a white wine drinker, or this pairs with food so well that you're going to love it if you have it with a great dinner. It goes with everything. And it always tastes different, but it always tastes fantastic. I mean, the blends, I'm always excited about them. And every time I get to talk to people about the blends, I'm always like, so hold on, I'm going to tell you all the different grapes that are in here. And it's never just like Cab Merlot blend. It's always, 4 to 6 varietals, usually varietals that you don't see all the time from us. And so, especially not only by themselves. So don't be making faces. And so this is always one that I know the wine club members are excited about, but we're all really excited about it too. And I know it's fun for you because, like you said, you just get to go crazy with your blends and just try a bunch of different stuff. And I think shows how much you enjoy it.
Yeah.
This
Yeah. So,
reminds me of a famous basketball story in San Antonio, because every time I see what John is putting into blend, I say, "Oh no!" And I said, "This can't possibly work." And so there was a great situation in the early days of the Spurs, and the Spurs, it's a championship game, and the Spurs are down by a point or so, and Sean Elliott has the ball, and he's dribbling into the corner, and David Robinson is next to him saying, "Don't shoot, don't shoot, don't shoot." Great shot, and they won. So anyway, John.
John, this is like this is the Memorial Day miracle.
Memorial Day miracle.
Don't shoot, don't shoot, don't. Great shot.
Well, you know, it's funny you should say basketball and Culinaria together, because a couple of years ago, when Culinaria was still in May, we were at the resort down there in San Antonio, and I was up on the 7th floor. So this is a floor, adults only floor, basically. You know, it's got an open bar, concierge bar area. It's, you know, it's very nice, also very quiet. And I was in the lounge, I was watching basketball, and these couple of gentlemen come in, and I wasn't actually watching basketball at that point. It was commercial, and a couple of gentlemen come in and say, "Hey, do you mind if we switch it to the game?" And I said, "Well, it's already on." And they're like, "Oh, okay. You know, we're going to sit here and watch it for a while." I'm like, you know, cheers, welcome. I didn't know who they were. Really tall guys, though. I mean, damn, these guys were tall. So I sit there, and I am not a basketball person, guys, so I really don't know a lot about it. Enjoy the game. But these guys were just starting to get all excited. And I was like, "So do you have skin in the game?" And one guy looks at me and goes, "You really?" I was like, "I don't know, you know." He goes, no, we don't bet on the game." I was like, "No, I mean, you've a vested interest in who wins, or do you have a favorite team?" And they're like, he just kind of nods at me. He's like, "Oh," and Jody comes around the corner. She goes, "He knows nothing about professional athletes, guys. You'll have to forgive him." The Golden State Warriors were staying there. It's like, "Oh, hey, that explains the height thing."
Oh, God.
Anyway, the Culinaria. So, you know, Rebecca, to your point, I had a couple of phone calls this year after we didn't release it from Wine Club members.
Mhm.
And I told one of them, I said, "Oh, no, we don't make that anymore."
Oh, what? To me.
But the nose on this is just dark and rich and a little bit of a spice. And I love when when you first taste it. Maybe, John, as you would say, on the front palate, you get just a wonderful bright fruit note. Is that the Zinfandel coming through?
Oh, I think so, Joe. Yes, sir, I do. You know, it really is. It's very, very nice. I mean, this is a very young wine. It's the 18, so it has not been in bottle very long. On there, I'll get the exact profile up here, but you know, on the front of the label, that's what I was looking at earlier. So it's 20% Zin, 20% Dolcetto, 15% Barbera, 15% Mourvèdre, 15% Cabernet, and 15% Tannat.
What you don't know about that story is that Avery Johnson was standing at the top of the arc saying, "Bang it, Ninja." Which was Sean Elliott's nickname.
So, let's call him the Ninja.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, I prefer that. I prefer that name.
A tired housewife, or
driving me to drink. So hey, can we backtrack to the Chardonnay a little bit?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, because I'm going to totally, you know, so Charles Gage, this one's for you, buddy, because I'm totally stealing your comment. So the 2020 Diamondback Chardonnay, when's that going to be released?
Little squirts.
Yeah, right.
Already picturing the label.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So Rebecca, what do you think of the Culinaria? What are your impressions?
I love this. It's always one of my favorites. I actually today had somebody come in and they asked me, you know, what wine would I recommend? They wanted a red blend. this is absolutely what I'm recommending right now. And it's just such a fantastic blend. And like you said, it is young. This is going to develop and going to age. It's very bright right now, which I think is great. But it's got enough depth that you can tell this is going to age really, really nicely. It's going to continue to develop. You're going to get more of the melding of all of the different flavors and all of the different aromas as this continues to age. And I'm really looking forward to trying this again in 9 months and in a year and a half and in 2 years. If somebody could put bottles aside and hide them from me so that I can keep that would be really cool.
So John, the Tanat that's in here, is that Drew's Tanat?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And it's what
Hold on, Joe. We have two sources of Tanat. Before I definitively commit and am wrong, which will not be the first time in my life that's ever happened. I know that's a shocker. Let me pull that up. So again, another big shout out to my assistant winemaker, Rachel, whom is the lifesaver on all things information that John forgets to do before the end of the day. And she sent out this. So yes, the Tanat is definitely from Drew.
Okay.
You know, John, what I find so stunning about this wine is when I read all the components and how they perfectly fit together. It's like I'm tasting a single varietal, and so I'm trying to say, what is it? And it's like maybe either one of the best Zinfandels I've tasted, or one of the best Italian wines I've tasted. I can't, but it's incredibly rich on both counts, and yet mild, nice tannin structure. Nothing is sticking out. This is just lovely.
Yeah, it's fairly well balanced. I think in another year that balance is going to come more into focus. Right now, the the fruit on the back note that I'm really smelling on the back is from that Mourvedre. That red currant is coming out.
Yeah.
Red currant. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just a beautiful tie-in. That Tanat offers the structure that the Dolcetto and the Barbera are both bright fruits, where the Tanat is a very, very tannic, very rich wine. So that offers, and that Tanat just at, what was that, 15%? So that offers a nice structure for mid-palate weight. So we're talking again about
Mourvedre is famous for having an aromatic of raw meat. Not here at all. You know, it's
no, it's funny you say that, because I've always associated Syrah with like smoky meat or meatiness. Yeah. I have had Mourvedres that do have that kind of like fresh raw steak.
Meat.
No, yeah.
Like especially the rosés that are primarily Mourvedre, I think.
Yeah, because nothing says sexy rosé like a hunk of raw meat. But yeah, that I think we'll see evening coffee and the chocolate in here over the next year without a problem. The two of you together, we're gonna have to separate you.
Rebecca just signed off.
All Rebecca's fault, huh?
Hands off, ladies. He's taken.
Oh, so Jet just said two Fang Viognier. No, Jet, no.
Only if he'll grow a Chardonnay.
Right? I think we should coerce him into that.
I want you to tell Jeff that you just saved his 2019 Zinfandel. That we were probably can't tell it on the air, but
no, we didn't save it.
I loved it.
And this is where winemaking by committee comes in. We'll be trying that this weekend, by the way, on Sunday.
All right, we'll be there.
Yes, ma'am.
Was 2018 the first year that we contracted Tanat?
I think so. Yes, I think 17 we did not have it in 17.
Okay.
So the 2017 saw the first year of the Tariga, and Tanat was 18. So yeah, and then so we get Tanat from two places, on Hill Country and High Plains. So and Drew's got that Tanat vineyard he has is very beautiful. It's very well taken care of. So the other thing I want to mention too, yes, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, I was getting feedback. I thought somebody was saying something. Is the Barbera is also from Drew, and then the Cabernet. I don't want you to fire me when you find out where the Cabernet is from, but thank you, Brenda. Yeah. And of course,
That's the rattlesnake in it.
yeah, there's only one source for that beautiful Dolcetto, and that's Jet, whom we've been giving a lot of grief to tonight. So I'm sure I'll hear about it from him. But,
Well, Jet doesn't have as many rattlesnakes in his vineyard because they're all afraid of getting run over by his truck.
I tell you what, he chases them out. He's like St. Patrick and the snakes. So you bet. So what would you guys pair with this? I know we have, and we should talk about a little bit about the Culinaria Festival, because it's a great food, wine. It also includes beer and spirits, but the overall culinary festival for San Antonio. And Doc, when did that start? Because you helped get that off the
20
ground.
years ago.
Yeah.
More than 20 years ago. it's certainly we've been slowed down about the COVID infection as everything in our lives, but we've got plans to bring it back. As you know, we did a virtual Rambling Rosé a month or so ago. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it's been a terrific celebration of Texas wine and Texas food, chefs and winemakers, and it's been great.
And I think it's worth mentioning that the last Culinary was dedicated to Mom and Dad. So nice thing they did.
Yeah. So you said, I'm sorry, Doc, you said that you started it in 1920?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it was 20 years ago that it started, about 20 years ago?
At least more than 20.
Okay. Because I know that the folks there at the culinary office, a shout out to them. They are hard workers. You guys do a great job.
Suzanne, absolutely.
Yeah. And Suzanne, I love when she gets on the phone. She's very just like, so this is what we're doing. We love it.
It's usually good.
Yeah. So it's the hardest part about this for me is keeping in the back of my mind that we're trying to match it with the varied cuisine of the San Antonio area, right? I think not Tex-Mex. I think that's the incorrect way of saying that. But I think there's a lot of influence that comes together. And so we get a really good fusion cuisine in San Antonio. And we've got a lot of depth of flavor, a lot of different sources of that flavor, a lot of different vegetal sources of that flavor components come in. I'm sorry, Joe, you.
No. I was just speaking of, how do you think this would hold up to like a good mole sauce?
It would do very well.
Or maybe a carne guisada?
Yeah, so it depends on the mole, or the region that you're trying to replicate with the mole. But I would say that if you're doing a mole negro, that it would do very, very well. Because it's got, you do use bits of coffee and chocolate in a good mole, and that's going to be a complementary flavor profile for that wine. In mole, it's not that, you can make it spicy, but it truly is balanced. There's heat there, yes, but that balance in mole is so wonderful, and it always amazes me. It takes forever to make. It's this incredibly rich sauce, and it really, after you get done eating, you're full. About 2 hours later, you're like, man, I really want more. I can't eat anymore, but just that flavor keeps sticking with you. That to me is a sign of a beautiful sauce. I think it would go well.
Well, one of my favorite stories when I was in the 6th grade and my mother had breast cancer, and she was off at Duke, and Dad would take me out to dinner once a week, and we went to the original La Fragata at San Antonio, which is on Advanced Jackson and I-10, and we ordered their famous Paquito de Todo plate, which comes with their mole enchiladas. And I remember that was the first time I tasted that, and I thought, this is pretty wonderful taste.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would follow anyone for a good mole. So yeah, I'm just saying. I think it would do very well. Rebecca, any additions to this food pairing of Culinaria?
So today, Kaylin brought in this fantastic food that she had made last night, and it's called a Mississippi pot roast. And this wonderful pot roast she made in a crock pot. It had all kinds of peppers and vegetables with it. And I really think that would pair beautifully with this culinaria. I think it had a lot of different flavors, and I think all of those different flavors that it had would go really, really well with this wine. I really like it because Kaylin, when she experiments with food, she brings it in and then she portions out bits because she's so excited about it and has everybody try a small bite. So it's kind of fun when she does new things.
Yeah, she tried that with me with the soup. She tried giving me a little bit, so I took the entire container from her and said, thank you. What? I'm just saying, don't get in an argument with a hungry fat guy, right?
John, this has a very, very rich finish. Just amazing lingering richness. So this would love to stand up to a lot of different Mexican dishes. I think it would be great with any of the things you have in a really good Mexican restaurant in San Antonio.
Yeah,
be fun.
Well,
to taste.
I've actually had cabrito with the culinaria, and I don't know if that's to everybody's liking or not, but I mean it's a very rich meat, but.
Yeah.
Oh man, it did very, very well. So, then somebody was saying chili Colorado con carne. Yes, Jet, we'll go with Jet. You know what? You want a good cook, Jet Wilmoth. But absolutely.
I was just thinking of in San Antonio we have some incredibly talented Southwest cuisine chefs, Johnny Hernandez, but one I think that would be a great chef is a well-known chef here named is Geronimo Lopez, I think is his last name, but he was down at the Culinaria. He used to have kind of a Peruvian fusion restaurant. I was just thinking some of his dishes go very well with this.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, if you guys haven't out there, if you've not had the Culinaria as your first introduction, you've chosen a great year was chosen for you. But I would, of all the wines that we do, we keep talking about food. I would very much encourage people, please grab this and start pairing it. You'll find how versatile it is, how well it does with different things. It is a wine I think that we were very successful in making as a go-to wine for food. If you're not sure, grab Culinaria and try it with it. Your chances are very, very high that it'll go well with it. I would say outside of the extreme heat or extreme sour, that this will go with just about anything.
John, for the question, when I'm tasting wines like this, I always ask myself, is there a varietal that that I think this is? Mm-hmm. So if someone handed you this glass of wine blind and said this is one grape, mm-hmm. What would you call it? What would you identify it as?
Well, I would say that it's the winemaker's choice. You know what? That outside of my smart aleckiness, the nose that it most replicates to me is almost Syrah. Mm-hmm. It smells like a Rhone to me.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. But even that alive, because that Cabernet comes out in the middle there. That cab there, but it does it. It's got a dustiness that a nice rich Rhone, like a Grenache Syrah blend.
And for me, it's like a wonderful Italian wine, varietal. Mm-hmm. Gosh, great wine. Thank you.
Yeah. It's very, very nice. So I'm not seeing any. Yep. What? It's the reverberation. I apologize. Literally sounds like you just asked a question, Rebecca, or said something like yelling at me. Which apparently, I'm used to being yelled at.
I'm louder than that.
You're louder than that. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. So our next wine, which is near and dear to my heart, is our 2018 Petite Syrah.
John, why does it say estate on the label?
Because it's not a state.
Oh, that's a good reason. Okay. Yeah. Can we get over that?
Yeah. No, you have to be minimum 95% to be vineyard designate.
This is 94. What is this?
It's 94.9. We're very particular. No, it's actually only about 90%. So we used a little bit of a few other things in there, and I will grab that up right now so that we can answer those questions.
So, John, when I saw that we were going to have another Petite Syrah, I was very excited and wanted to make sure that it went out in the wine club shipment and, talk to you and to Doc about that, because we don't usually have a lot of the Petite Syrah when we make it.
Right.
And so it typically sells out fairly quickly. And so we haven't had a Petite Syrah for quite a few months, available. And so I was really excited when I saw that the 18 was going to be ready to ship out. So I was really excited about this. This is always such a crowd pleaser, and it's just a deep, dark, rich, heavy wine. And I always tell people that if you love Petite Syrah, you have a glass and people are concerned because it turns your teeth purple. And I said, that's just how I can spot my people. I know we're going to get along great. And that's why you get your teeth cleaned twice a year.
So John, why doesn't it say Durif on the label?
I'm sorry. I thought you meant you only cleaned your teeth twice a year. That's where I'm getting that wrong. I'm sorry, Joe, you were saying?
Why doesn't it say Durif on the label?
Because, Joe, it's Petite Syrah. And we live in America. No. Well, honestly, there is I suppose we could. It is approved. Durif is approved by the TTB as a varietal selection. But Petite Syrah is what we planted it and grow it as. So I receive it into the winery as Petite Syrah. You were asking Doc a little earlier. So it's 94% Petite Syrah, it's 4% Counois, and 2% Petit Verdot.
Boy, the Petit Verdot gives such a wonderful backbone to this wine. I feel like.
Yeah, and it basically, the Petit Verdot in there was to fill in a little hole of imbalance in that mid palate that I noticed in the Petite Syrah itself. Try it with and without. There's just a finite amount of difference between having it or not having it. And when we went through this blend, I'm looking down, which I'm not supposed to do, but I was trying to find my notes on the blending session when we went through here. But I think the Petit Verdot offers kind of a little filler in there to help balance that mid palate. But the Counois was to lighten it up. That Petite Syrah is extraordinarily tannic, and sometimes it can be a little too tannic on the palate. So that Counois offers a nice complementary fruit note to the fruit that exists in Petite Syrah, but then with the less tannin, it lightens the tannic structure of that wine just a hair, kind of allow it to balance through. You're not feeling like your enamel is going to peel off your teeth or anything.
In the history of our vineyard, where the Petite Syrah is planted, we first planted Chardonnay. And the Chardonnay won our first gold medal in the Dallas Morning News competition. And it was really good. Then it didn't do well because of probably Pearson's disease. So we planted Viognier, and the Viognier planted there won wonderful medals. So I'm just thinking about the history of this spot. Then John Thomas planted red blue vines there and planted a whole crop and harvested them for seed. And that was a wonderful thing to see. And then we put Petite Syrah in. We planted the Petite Syrah, and we were going to have to hire a new winemaker. And I know you've heard this story, John, but a French winemaker came, and then he drove in. He saw Petite Syrah describing the vines there. He said, "Well, the first thing I would do is I would rip them out because you cannot make good wine from Petite Syrah. It's not possible." And so we had all the bulldozers lined up when you came down the driveway, John, and they're still there.
You had all the bull lined up. I'm sorry, you said bulldozers?
All the rest of it is true.
So that field is predominantly sandy loam, though, isn't it?
It's sand and rhododendron.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of grist in there. Yeah, absolutely. But I love that vineyard. I love that Petite Syrah. It made my heart jump with joy when we drove down in May of 2012 down to the winery and saw that. That was really, really nice to see those vines there. It's funny because the first year that I was with Becker, there were several articles about winemaking in Texas. There was a concerted effort by the Wine and Grape Growers Association to get more information out about Texas wines, of course, part of their marketing arm. And they were doing a wonderful job. And unfortunately, there was an article in there talking about how you could not make Bordeaux varietals in Texas. Just Texas couldn't grow Bordeaux. Nobody that should try it, yada, yada, yada. Thankfully, the person who wrote that article sold their winery and is no longer involved in the industry. Because it's not true. You can't actually grow Bordeaux varietals in Texas. And I think we've proven that with our growers and with our staff making the wine. Petit Syrah, on the other hand, please don't ever listen to a Frenchman who doesn't like Petit Syrah. I think that's almost like being a pariah. Who wouldn't love the reef?
That's like a Texan that doesn't like black-eyed peas. I mean, it's just
right,
not possible.
Right, exactly. Or a Californian who didn't like to surf. I mean, no.
John, one of the things about Petit Syrah that I have learned working here and have seen that is really interesting to me is how tight the clusters of grapes grow. We've done our hands-on harvest wine club event. We've picked the Petit Syrah a few times, and we always have to, go extra into the safety of it's hard to figure out where to cut these clusters from because they wrap themselves around the cane and they're just so tightly clustered. What are some of the kind of additional issues, that brings as far as growing this particular varietal?
Well, the tightness of those clusters brings a whole host of things in our humid environment that we worry about, like, powdery mildew, certainly, and keeping that off the vine. But I don't know why it was so hard for you guys, because like this year I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and watched Dylan drive down with that tractor and just harvest that stuff without a problem.
Yeah. That harvested that. John's email is john@beckerwines.com. Feel free to send him all your comments.
Hey, absolutely. Yeah. Flood that box that I look at once a week. I mean, every day.
It's trophywife@gmail.
Trophywife@gmail. Doc, I don't even want to know what emails you just signed me up for. No, back to Rebecca's question and point, and yes, there are a lot of concerns on that, Rebecca, because the tighter the cluster, like Zinfandel is notorious for tight clusters, Petit Syrah certainly, Petit Verdot definitely, a lot of these wines, and Viognier also produces a very tight cluster, and so there are a lot of concerns, a lot of farming that has to happen to get those safely to the winery from start to finish. So it does take a lot of extra effort to bring a quality grape, a tight clustered quality grape through this environment. Anyway, I think Petit Syrah did very well, and I am glad that you chose it. Now, here, you can't use a standard answer. What would you pair with this wine to complement it? I notice I did not use the word food. What would you pair with this wine to complement it?
A trophy wife.
Okay, I'm going to quit. Rebecca is really trying hard to not start laughing. Filter. Very good idea, Rebecca. We're on live. Doc, what would you pair?
Gosh, I don't know. Let me think about it for a second.
How would this have been with that wonderful duck that you and Rebecca had in?
Oh my gosh!
At that Michelin star restaurant we went to in Alsace.
Yeah, in Auberge de la Lille.
Yeah.
With duck and great with turkey, I think.
I'm still jealous, Rebecca.
I was the fastest. I was the fastest to respond.
You won that 100-yard dash.
And who would like to split those with me? And I went, wee, right away. I was the first one.
The other thing I was thinking was, sorry, Rebecca, was the quail eggs that Tom Perini makes.
Oh yeah, yep. That would actually do really well. I mean, you'd certainly pair it with a whole host of traditional foods, red meats and stuff. But personally, I just like drinking the glass by itself.
That could be it.
You
And,
are the trophy wife.
yeah, well, and it pairs beautifully with my sense of humor.
I think it pairs really well with a bearskin rug and a fireplace.
There you go.
You know, John, a really good cigar would go very well with this.
Okay, what cigar, Doc?
Well, how about a Cuban? How about a Churchill?
Mhm.
That would just be great.
Well, I like the Churchill sizes. I think I would go for a straight, ordinary Davidoff with this. Very light,
Uh-huh.
you know, Connecticut leaf, very mild.
Mhm.
Would do very well. That
This
nice-
is almost a port. I mean, this is so strong.
yeah, it
that
really
it's
does have an almost.
It's almost beyond food.
So we're pairing meatballs. That's somebody said.
Meatball, yeah.
Meatballs, yeah, you know. Well, Trish is not sure about the cigar. Trish, trust me, it goes very well with it.
Trish smokes cigars, I can tell you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is good. It's opening up. This wine, as young as it is, still needs a lot of time to open up. That's very, very nice. So let's get back to Rebecca. Next week, what are we doing?
So next week, we're going to taste the wines that were sent out to our White Wines Club members. So
Oh, nice.
so we're going to have our 2017 Viognier Reserve.
Mhm.
We're going to discuss the Chardonnay again because we also sent the 2017 Chardonnay Reserve out to them as well. And then we're also going to discuss the 2014 Muscat Chenin, which is very interesting. And I'm really kind of excited to go over that wine because a 2014 you don't see a lot of. And so you really get to see how a white wine ages and how it really kind of develops and works. And I'm really excited about that one next week as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, excuse me. For those of you, I'm going to reiterate this too because we discussed this the last few weeks. But if you don't want to drink all of these bottles, if you've opened them all up, please just put the cork in what's left in the bottle and put it in the freezer. You know, Doc, when you mentioned that several months ago, I think it was back in April or May, you mentioned it for the first time. And, you know, Jody and I have been doing that ever since, putting the bottles in the freezer. We took one out that had been in there a little over 4 weeks, and it was, I was amazed. There was a ever so slight amount of degradation on the nose, but that was it. It just is amazing how well that freezer preserves the wine.
I agree.
Yeah. So, and the Chardonnay, it's funny because the Chardonnay that I actually poured tonight, back to the Chardonnay. So we opened a bottle of this last night. We did not finish it. So I put it in the freezer and I just took this out before the broadcast because I did not want to open a fresh bottle. And it amazed me. I mean, even overnight in the freezer. And all it took was 35, 40 minutes on the counter and it thawed right out and was beautiful.
Yeah.
For those of you who want to preserve the wine, it's a great way of doing that.
So they shouldn't put it in the microwave on defrost, John?
No, but no, not in the microwave. Funny man.
After the Chardonnay has been open for an hour and a half, it's just terrific. Yeah.
Boy, this is a beautiful.
It needs to be decanted.
What do you guys? There's a beautiful element on the nose on the Chardonnay now. Dad or John, what are you guys?
I'm sorry.
The
Say
white
that.
flowers, sure.
The white flowers you got for it. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm almost getting sort of a toasted note on the nose.
Right.
So I get when I let this sit and then do that first initial swirl, I get a little bit of Yasmin on there.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's very specifically not the orange-esque edge of like an Indonesian, but more of they call it an Arabian jasmine, but it's not. It's a particular sub-varietal that has more almost gardenia and jasmine edge instead of the citrus.
Gardenia. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I know that's splitting hairs, and I apologize for people who now are going to think, "Oh God, okay, buddy." You know, we used to have jasmine growing all over our back porch, and it is such a distinctive scent. It just sticks with you. So somebody asked, Beverly asked, freezing works, but what about the particulate matter that appears when you thaw it out? Don't backwash in the bottle and you won't have a problem. Look at Rebecca. She's like, oh, buddy. The particulate matter, some of the solids will come out of suspension, yes, when you freeze it and come out. It doesn't affect the flavor. Those are natural existing tartaric acid, a little bit of yeast bodies that will clump together and fall out of suspension. Stuff that you normally can't see in the glass will come out very little bit. You can also pour it off the sediment, let it settle, and just pour it right off. But, you know, we don't over filter or over refine the wines, so you're going to get a little bit. We do filter to a certain extent, but we don't over filter or over fine. So there will be a little bit left, even as clear as it looks in your glass now. If you freeze it, sometimes stuff like the tartaric acid will come out of suspension. So I hope that answers that question.
It did.
Any great final thoughts from anybody on the three wines, the setup, No?
No, it's just been another great evening of escape from all this terrible stuff around us. And we just need to all hang together. And we need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of the whole world. That's what we need. We need to think about that.
Well,
What can we do to make this work everywhere? And
on that note, I would just like to say that early voting started. I encourage everybody to go out, vote for your favorite candidate. I voted at 7:40 yesterday morning, and I had to wait 30 minutes in line in Fredericksburg, which was hysterically funny. But I personally want to thank everybody out there that is a polling place judge, the workers there, the polling that you're taking your volunteer time to make sure that the rest of us get to exercise our constitutional rights. I think they're duties. I think it's a responsibility, but I want to say thank you to everyone out there. Thanks for volunteering your time, and cheers to you guys. So everybody enjoy your evening. Good wine, good health. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.